Well, welcome back, everyone. The room has shifted a little bit. Now there's parking space for everyone, but we do have an additional recognition tonight that we especially want to pause and take notice of. And so Mr. Wayne Eads, our interim superintendent, I believe you have a couple things to say about the Government Finance Officer Association and the Association of School Business Officials International Awards.
I do. I'd like to invite Megan Sponsler, our Chief Financial Officer, and Mandy Hydock, our Finance Director, to come up to the podium for a little recognition, well-deserved recognition. So. Let me scoot over. You got to both get on camera here. Okay. It is easy to say that we expect complete transparency and the highest accounting standards for our budget, but it takes a huge amount of work to make this expectation into a reality. The task of taking over $200 million worth of appropriations and creating a budget that is understandable and useful, and then to create processes and procedures to manage the actual spending of those funds in a way that ensures we are spending the taxpayers' dollars in the most efficient and accountable way possible. It's a huge task. So Megan and Mandy are the two people responsible for the budget and the audit process for our district. And tonight we recognize their efforts to manage these challenging tasks. Their colleagues at the association that Roger mentioned, the Association of School Business Officials International and the Government Finance Officers Association, have recognized their excellent work using independent measures and criteria and standards to give them awards for their work both on the CAFR, our annual audit. CAFR stands for Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, and also for the budget presentation document. As part of the finance team led by Megan, our finance director, Mandy Hydock, is the person primarily responsible for working with our auditors to prepare our annual audit report. This document has won 2 awards from 2 different associations, which I just mentioned. And you saw this document earlier in the fall, and I think you'll agree it was a spectacular piece of work, loaded with information, loaded with facts about how we spend the district's funds, and received excellent opinions from our auditor. Under Mandy's leadership, this is the, how many years have we gotten this board? This is the 6th year, 7th year?
12 for the government GFOA and 11 for the housing.
So we're over a decade with consistent awards there, and Mandy is responsible for the majority of those. Anyway, I want to thank Mandy for her efforts, and I hope you'll join me in expressing some appreciation for her work. It's a big deal, so thank you, Mandy. Yeah. If you'll stay up here with us, Mandy, I'm going to give you a chance to talk if you want to. Would you like to say anything right now? You're good? Okay. Well, now I'd like to turn to the person who's responsible for the overall leadership of our financial operations, Megan Sponsler, our CFO. As you know, the budget is our spending plan, and each year at this time, the Weld County School District 6 Board of Education receives the budget presentation document. Last year at this time, the board received the budget document for the fiscal year that began on July 1, 2014, and will be ending soon on June 30. This budget, has presented to the board 1 year ago, has earned the Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the 3rd time. Megan has set expectations very high for this budget document. If you spend time with it, you will learn a great deal about our district and about our community. I want to mention how much skill and foresight it takes for someone to be able to anticipate the needs of such a complex, large organization. And having seen budget documents from many other school districts, I can tell you without hesitation, this is the very best one that I've ever seen. So Roger, I believe, has another plaque to present. Would you like to say anything, Megan? You had enough tonight? All right, let's thank these 2 fine professionals again.
next item is the approval of the consent agenda. And this is an action item, and I'll be glad to entertain a motion at this time. I have a written copy if someone needs that. Okay, thank you. We're on it.
I move that the Board of Education of Wilton County School District 6 approve items as presented on the consent agenda and authorize the officers to sign any and all contracts.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there comments or questions? Roll call, Ms. Brand?
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis? Aye. And the motion carries 6-0.
Excellent. Thank you very much. The next item with Interim Superintendent Wayne Eads' assistance will be the Prairie Heights Middle School progress update.
This agenda is pretty thick, President DeWitt, and I've lost my notes.
I was
for
just
a
going to say, it
second.
took a while to get through those consent agenda items. I apologize for not giving you more time.
Found it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that introduction. It's time to tell you that Prairie Heights Middle School is 95% complete. Currently, as you might expect, the landscaping activities are going on. They've been delayed a little bit by the amount of rain we've had, so we're a couple weeks behind on that. But that hasn't affected work on the inside of the building. We've had additional trouble with super saturated soils around the track area, and this has required some over excavation. But inside, much work is nearing completion with furniture, fixture, and equipment being delivered and installed. Testing and inspections of a number of building systems is expected over the next couple of weeks. For example, the elevator will be operational next week, just in time for furniture deliveries to begin so they can get to the second floor. The wood flooring on the stage is being installed now with final paint and ceiling tile in most of the rest of the building. The gym floor is installed and painted with the new logo and ready for use. All in all, we're very pleased with progress. If the rain would just stop, we'll get the outside done. And I do want to remind everyone that at noon, July 16th, we'll be having a ribbon cutting, which will signify our construction company's essential completion of the building, and our certificate of occupancy should be issued soon after that. And we expect to open school on time. So July 16th, noon to 1:30, please feel free to come out and take a look at the site and congratulate all those who worked on it. And we'll have a little ribbon cutting ceremony on that day.
Brilliant. Are there questions for Mr. Eads on this? We've talked about this before. And say again how much asbestos will be in the building?
We will remove most of it this summer, but there'll be a phase 2 the next summer where we will tackle a much smaller area, the office.
Well, you're skipping to Greeley West. I was just giving you a simple question. To say none, there will be no asbestos.
There will be no, oh, I'm sorry. There will be no asbestos in Prairie Heights. I thought you were asking about the West.
I knew that. I'm sorry.
I could mention some asbestos in relation to the Prairie Heights project.
Correct.
That the demolition of John Evans will begin in August. Right now, we're removing all of the everything we can salvage from the building. We're also going to salvage a couple of hundred bricks for future use as fundraisers, and I had a few folks ask if they could have one at the Goodbye to John Evans ceremony a couple of weeks ago. So that's part of this same project, and it will be proceeding as well. So there is some asbestos involved, but it's not in Prairie Heights.
Thank you.
So
The next item, if you don't object, is associated with Greeley West High School progress update.
thank you, President DeWitt. There's also significant progress on the Best West abatement project. Ken Hoyland, the project manager, has worked with our contractor to expand the containment area for phase 1 of this summer's work, and it's moving faster than expected. In fact, the abatement work for this summer is about 50% complete already. The abatement contractor has had crews on site 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, trying to keep that work on schedule, and we expect the putback contractor to begin to refinish the phase 1 containment area on June 14th. We also have, just as a piece of information, 5 air pumps stationed in the undisturbed part of the building, taking constant air samples to make sure that we don't contaminate the building in any way. Those tests have all come back negative, so everybody's doing their job appropriately. So.
Comments or questions from board members? Again, we've had the opportunity to talk about this lot. We're thrilled with progress. The next item is about the Center for Collaborative Classroom adoption and purchase of new elementary writing curriculum. Chief Academic Officer Dr. Stacy Dattery is presenting some information to us this evening. And this is an action item, and I'd be glad to entertain a motion to that effect at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 adopt the writing curriculum, Being a Writer, published by Center for the Collaborative Classroom, and approve the purchase not to exceed $210,850 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Welcome.
Thank
And
you.
take over.
President DeWitt, Interim Superintendent Eads, and members of the school board. Tonight, Kelly Silbach, our elementary literacy coordinator, and I are pleased to bring forward to you the recommendation from the Elementary Literacy Task Force for a K-5 core writing resource. These materials were last updated in 2006, when teachers would receive materials based on class attendance to a writer's workshop professional development. These resources were only supplemental, however, as they supported the Houghton Mifflin reading series at the time. And since that time, elementary teachers have utilized the resources to the best of their ability that were in alignment with the former Colorado standards. However, the standards and assessments, as you know, have changed as of 2010. And as we have transitioned over the past 3 years to these new standards, we have realized that the current resources are lacking in alignment and expectation with the new standards. Therefore, this year, we are asking the board for approval of elementary writing materials, as it is important to support our teachers and our students within these expectations of writing integration. This is part of a K-5 literacy adoption that the Literacy Task Force undertook back in October. So in the next few slides, we would like to share with you the process and the results of the work of the task force. So as you are aware, as mentioned, Colorado adopted new standards in 2010. And over the past years, we have been working to implement these standards. There have been some shifts in writing, and it's been some big shifts. One of the biggest with the Colorado academic standards is that reading and writing are wholly connected in meaningful ways. It is no longer we have a set of reading standards and a separate set of writing standards. They are language arts standards. And writing is treated in these new standards as really what we like to think of as an equal partner, and no longer as one really more important than the other. Because writing is really, in these new standards, assumed to be the vehicle for which a great deal of reading work and assessment of their learning will occur. And therefore, students are expected to demonstrate understanding of reading and content areas through coherent writing. In addition, the standards of writing have changed in focus. For elementary students, it used to mainly be narrative with a little bit of explanatory, expository type of writing. There are now 3 main focus areas, and they are equal in the focus for elementary, that include argument writing, informative or explanatory text writing, and narrative writing. Prior to these standards, as I mentioned, it was mainly narrative, and these standards, however, Colorado academic standards, focus the learning to be a vehicle for demonstrating their thinking in a variety of ways. So the next purpose that the task force identified for the reason that they knew they needed to bring forward a recommendation around writing is that the resources that they needed they chose these resources rather, is that they needed to have more support rather for teachers to teach writing systematically within a writer's workshop model. Where there may be many resources that support student writing, the task force unanimously agreed that these resources would support teachers' professional learning to teach every child to be a writer within the Colorado standards, expectations, and they wouldn't need to go through an extensive amount of training in order to provide that type of writing instruction to their students. And so they really saw these resources being very valuable, not only for student learning, but also for them as teachers in terms of learning and growth, which is tightly aligned to the final reason. It was said over and over again that our teachers' time needed to be taken into consideration in the amount of time that it takes for them to write their lessons and do the work with students. And so they have spent many hours pulling a variety of resources from multiple different areas in order to teach students writing every day. This is not best for student learning, as we know, to pull from multiple different resources, nor for teacher workload and for their time and intensity that it takes to do that. As such, the task force knew that adequate materials were needed to support teachers that provided a comprehensive program to meet the standards and not require our teachers to pull from a variety of disconnected resources.
There are many teachers and leaders to thank for being part of this important process. The list on your slide is a list of the same 29 educators that you met on May 11th during the reading adoption presentation. They have been amazing at learning together, sharing ideas, evaluating resources to choose the most high quality resources for the teachers. And as you know, our teacher leaders are off contract right now and hopefully enjoying some time with their families and having some well-deserved rest. So before I share with you the recommendation, I would like to walk through the process and the timeline of the task force's work in determining this recommendation I bring to you tonight. This timeline will be a familiar one, as it is the same timeline that the elementary task force reviewed as they reviewed both reading and writing at the same time. Between the months of October and December of this school year, the task force created a common vision and purpose for determining a quality resource that would best meet the needs of our students and our teachers. Then, from December to February, the task force previewed a variety of potential resources and chose to review more deeply those that most closely aligned with the state-adopted language arts standards being addressed at the elementary level. In March, the best resources were identified for each level using the Analyzing Instructional Materials process, and on March 25th, publishers presented to the task force and the district community was invited to review the resources and provide feedback. In April, final selections were made at each grade level, and the recommendations were shared with the District Curriculum Council. In addition, through March and April, the recommended materials were on display at each elementary school and in the lobby of the district office to gain feedback and provide input from the school and district community. Tonight, the task force recommendations are being brought to the board to act upon this recommendation.
So based on the evidence that we have shared with you through this selection process, the committee is recommending Being a Writer, which is published by the Center for the Collaborative Classroom. We do believe, as we've discussed, that our process has been rigorous, as evidenced not only by the materials in your board packet, but also through the work of the task force. This resource connects the writing to the reading, as is called for in those new standards, and it supports the teaching and learning of argumentative, informational expository, and narrative writing, as outlined in the standards within a writer's workshop model. Without quality curriculum resources in writing, our teachers are left to supplement the curriculum with what they have or with what they can piece together, and it is demanding of their time, and it is less quality work for our students. We believe our teachers and our students deserve quality writing resources. The total cost of these writing materials, including shipping and handling costs, will be approximately $210,850. Kelly and I bring this recommendation to you from the task force in June, as it is a part of the newly adopted 2015-2016 curriculum budget that was passed earlier this evening. And we will be happy to address and answer any questions or comments that you may have.
It's important to note that we have discussed this numerous times, and we've had the opportunity to shake the hands of participants in the
Yes.
team, and we've thanked them many times. We will still rely on you to thank them for us again. It's an impressive amount of work, and we appreciate your resolution to get a new set of program materials, although 2006 doesn't seem that long ago to me.
No.
Okay, but perhaps it's time. I don't know if anyone else has any further comments. It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, Ms. Bria.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.